Fans of the Horus Heresy, thank you very much for joining me for a quick how-to video. And this is a little response video to a comment that was left on my unboxing review of the Legion Fellblade super heavy tank. And commentator Jsh Pk, who's a long-standing subscriber of the channel, posed the question thus: how do I remove the key from rounded turrets such as the Fellblade has without damaging the rim? And Jsh Pk said he or she, I think he's a he, but maybe not, had some issues with these on turrets, and removing them they'd ended up with some damage on the rim. It's not a problem I have had, and I just thought I'd do a very quick little video to show how I go about doing this. So yeah, let's have a go. And it's not complicated, but perhaps if you've not seen this done or you've not tried it, you might be struggling. Now, the first thing to do with obviously a big piece like this, and any key in general, is never snap it off. Even where you have a contact point that's out of sight, I just wouldn't snap it off. Either use a set of cutters, so these are the ones I'm using at the moment. They're quite small, but they're actually really good for resin, or what I see as generally being the tool of choice for gate removal on big resin components, a razor saw. And this is just a straightforward one. These are, I think these are made in the USA, this brand. Cost me about £7 at my local flying model shop. Yeah, great tool, simple, changeable blade, does the job. Yeah, so never snap these off, and I'm just going to very simply show you how to go about doing this. Now, the trick is, I find, I cut from the side like so, I'll cut from this side, and I'll also do the cut at this sort of angle here. So I'm kind of going into it a bit, and that's just, I don't know, that's just a force of habit. It means that once you've cut it off, once you've sawed it off, the remaining gate has got sort of like a profile like this, and it just makes the cleanup a bit easier and leaves less material closer to the rim, which could lead to problems when it's been removed. So we've got this, I've got these cutters, and I've also got a scalpel with a sharp blade. So let's just have a go. I suppose the next thing is do them one at once. So here we've got 3 gates connecting the turret to the key. And yeah, just do them one at once. Now, if you want, depending on the confidence, you can leave yourself a bit of a gap, like so, between the actual edge of the detail, in this case the turret rim, and the gate. I'm quite confident, so I'm going to cut that like so. Now, next thing, as you can see, is do them one at once. Don't try do them all in one go. That's going to create problems. Or, well, not create problems necessarily, just make it a little bit harder for you to do it. You're going to be putting more force on the part and gates, and it just increases the chance of something slipping and going wrong. So now I've sawed that through, as you can see there, just going to snip it off with those. So I've got one away, and now I've also freed up space to work on the remaining 2. Right, so we'll get the razor saw again. I'm just using the back of my finger to guide the saw blade a bit there. Another thought here is not to saw with too much force, because if you saw with too much force, you might actually go through the key. As you cut through, you might go through and break the key off, and that could obviously lead to some damage on your part. So that's that one done. I mean, you could do them, it'd be better off probably doing this one first and leaving the one in the middle till last, but I'm just working through this. Something to think about if you're doing it yourself. So get the clippers again, and now taking that gate away, so there's just one remaining. Once again, we get our razor saw now. Here I have to change hands a bit, so I'm working off hand. As a lefty, I'm got a natural amount of ambidextrosity, I think you call it. There you go. Right, so the key is off and the gate's cut away. Right, so this is the important bit. No damage whatsoever to the rim of a turret. And when we turn it over, we can see we've got the remainder of the 3 gates to clean up. So let's start off just by getting rid of this shim. Like that. Now, in terms of how to deal with these, I mean, there's a couple of approaches. The first one, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, would be to use a razor saw and cut them through. I can't get it in camera shot either, but that's not how I'll do this particular one. I'm going to start with these clippers and then finish with the knife. Now, you notice how these clippers have got a flat side, and you can use this to guide your cuts. And just avoid overcutting. So when I'm going to cut here, I'm just going to cut, I'm not going to go right in the edge, so I'm going to finish that off with a knife. Again, I'm just giving myself a little bit of breathing space in case something goes wrong. Anyone who's ever done any work on a Gundam kit will understand this principle, whereby you don't cut right up to the part when you're taking parts off a sprue or the runners. You cut, you leave yourself a millimetre gap or whatever you can do. You cut it off, and then once the part's off a sprue, then you cut the remainder of a runner off, flush with the detail. Right, so we'll do the next one. Bits of resin flying all over the room. Sorry if the light's a bit bad. I'm in the penthouse today and it's a bit overcast. I think you can see that. And now we've just got one more to do. Got those off. This is a bit where, depending on your knife skills, I've been doing this for over 30 years and I'm confident using a scalpel to remove this. You could alternatively, I suppose you could use a heavier grade file to file them down. If you're filing, just be careful, make sure you don't go over and take detail off the edge of a turret. And then I'm just simply going to cut these down using the scalpel. Now, as I say, this is if you're not experienced in using a scalpel, I wouldn't necessarily take this approach, because you need a lot of grip strength to do this, because as well as the cutting motion, you need the strength in the fingers to stop the blade before making contact with your own thumb. This blade is reasonably sharp. I've had it in the knife now for probably over a month, and I've done quite a lot of work with it, so it's not razor sharp, but it's still sharp enough as to be effective. That's looking good. Let's do the second one. And again, another little thing here is with cutting it down, is you don't cut it all the way down in one motion. You can see that the maybe slightly under a millimetre of thickness here, but I'm not going to cut that down all at one go. I'm just going to take it down slice at a time. Gives me more control and avoids any, gives me more control and avoids any instance. Now, here I've found an air bubble, so I'm going to have to work around that carefully, because that's going to need filling. And if I can avoid pinging this, it'll just make it that bit easier to fill. That said, if I do ping it, it's hardly the end of the world. With some of the reconstruction work I've done on Forge World kits, that will be only sticking plaster grade effort. Sorry if the focus is a bit off. As I say, the lighting's not very good today, and the camera is having a bit of a hard time in these conditions with the autofocus. very nearly there now. A little bit more work here. It's always better as well not to be cutting at the edge, but just sort of working around it almost. And this is a useful skill to work out a way, you know, for yourself to do it, because it's a common thing to get gates attached on the edge details on resin parts. It's just kind of inevitable, really, because the air's got to come out somewhere. Well, the resin's got to go in somewhere, and the air has to come out as well. So yeah, it's kind of like a fact. What would you say? What do I say? Par for the course, isn't it? Right. I think that's looking quite nice now. Just going to see if I can grab a sanding stick. These are really good. This is I bought these earlier this year, and it was a recommendation from one of you viewers, and I found them to be really useful. Really useful. I'm going to need to get myself a new set soon because they're getting a little bit worn and dog-eared. Now, as we see, it's looking pretty good. Got this little bit here. Now, whatever tools you may have, you could do it with a scalpel. What I would use is one of these micro chisels, which are absolutely perfect for this sort of bit of tidy up. So easy to use. Okay. Well, I think that'll do for the purposes of this demonstration. You can see how we've removed the key and the gates, and we haven't got any damage to the edge of the turret. There's a little bit of a mould seam to remove here, so you know there's a bit of work to do like this. Just bringing the edge back around the piece, but that's something I'll do off camera. And just to show you the fit we've got, we've got the main hull. Lovely. Pretty good fit. There's some more work to do to get the fit on this. I mean, I'm not entirely sure the hull is flat. So yeah, that's something to do later. So there you have it, Jsh Pk. I hope you found that an interesting and useful little demonstration of how to take gates and keys off around the edge of a turret. So let me know what you think in the comments. Interested to hear as always. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.